Hey guys, welcome back to Home Built, and this week we are back on the Frankenhauler. We got the back done last time, now we have to look at the front. Alright guys, welcome back, and if you were watching last week you will have seen that I spent a lot of time getting the lower section of the rear of the cab all sorted out and all rust repaired, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. If you missed it, I'll put a link up above so you can catch up, and like always, like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff helps that mysterious algorithm. So alright. First things first, let's spin this thing around and show you what we're going to tackle today. Alright, so you can see here how rusty this corner is. I'm going to start on this passenger side. The driver's side is actually worse, but we'll get there later. For the time being, you can see that sort of inside here, the bottom is all rusted out, but I actually have, again, a rust repair panel, at least for the outer part of this area. Now, you don't have to use the entire panel, because this obviously goes like most of the way up the pillar, but you just need to use what is necessary. So I'm going to have a look through, and I might actually just trim off a section and see what's underneath and see what I need to repair and go from there. Alright, so you can see I've just cut that one outer layer off, and I can get a better idea of what is happening and what's supposed to happen underneath. Now, the hinge bucket, I couldn't actually remove all of the hinge because I couldn't actually undo the bolts because the bolts were completely rusted in the back. I'm going to have to replace the entire bucket itself, but I think I can actually make that piece as I go. Yeah, at the moment it looks like a mess, so I've got to pick through it slowly and work out exactly how I'm going to proceed. So as you can see, I work away systematically rather than just hacking out the whole corner. I'd like to know how everything went together so that I can remake it in the same order. Alright, so now I've cleaned things up a fair bit. This is the front cab support. So there are multiple layers here, and the problem is that multiple layers get water in between and they rust out, and that's what's happened here. And you can see like there's little bits where it's worn through all over the place. I've got to replace this floor. I've got to place stuff under the corner. The mount itself for the support is nice and solid, but the other pieces under it now aren't necessarily that way. What I think I need to do is I need to get the cab and lie it on its back so I can get in here and start repairing these bits and pieces. Alright, I'm very lucky that the cab is very light, so I managed to flip it over by myself. It's not too big of a drama. And now we can move in and have a closer look at what's going on underneath. Sorry for the background noise, there's a building site next door. Alright, so now I've got it on its side. You can see that there is this reinforcing piece that is under here, and that is the cab mount. Now that is all still quite solid. It's got a lot of surface rust on it, but once I clean it up, it's not too bad. But there is the floor sheet that is in between that and this reinforcing rib that's got rust inside it. So what I really need to do is I need to pick these pieces off, replace that floor sheet, and then replace the mounts. All right, that's looking a lot better now that I've actually cleaned up the whole bottom side of the cab. I didn't get crazy in the spots where I'm going to cut out anyway, but I'm looking at the order in which I need to do this, and I was going to replace this panel first, but I think actually I might replace this part first. The issue is that this corner is all sort of locked in together. As soon as I cut this panel in the base here out, this is going to be all swinging in the breeze. Now I'm going to weld in a brace now to lock this panel together, lock the door frame in spot, but yeah, it's just going to be a matter of gradually picking through it to find which bit to start with first. All right, so I've cut my piece out, and I can actually use this as the template for the new piece that I make, which makes life a lot easier. So let's go over and draw it out, start cutting it up and folding up the replacement to patch in there. All right, so I bent up my basic shape, and I screwed up because I folded up this side before I did this side, and actually I should have done this top fold first before I did this second fold. So this little piece here, I've needed folded up. So I'm going to try and tip with my bead roller. I don't have a proper tipping die, but I've got a relatively square edge die. I put some soft tape on the bottom roller so that hopefully sort of it'll give just enough so that I can hopefully just tip this edge, and once I've tipped it, then I can more easily just tap it over. But I just need to get that break in the edge, so let's do that. And you can see that actually works quite effectively, and I've tipped the edge all the way along. So now I can much more easily, I'll just get the hammer and dolly out and just tap it over and get my shape there, and then I can trim it and we should be good. All right, so I've got my piece and it fits bang on. It's exactly the way I want it. I'm gonna now sit this aside because now I'm gonna cut out the floor panel, and then we've got to see if we can make it.
So first of all, I sort of work out how much I want to cut out. I want to leave as many of the details in that floor panel as I can, because it's just less I have to remake. And then I make sure I have all the edges cleaned up so I can weld them when I'm ready. Now it's a matter of just loosely cutting out a shape of a piece of sheet. I am not going to cut it accurately now because I know that I'm going to be bead rolling it, and it's going to change the shape of this piece.
All right, so I'm trying to set up the bead roller to actually try and replicate some of the shape that is in the original panel. Now, I don't have rollers that are actually deep enough to do exactly what's here, but I've done the first one, and I've put a bit of a rib in the panel. Now it does warp the panel a little bit. I sort of hammered it out a bit and tried to get some of that shape back. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and put a joggle in these bits here and see, just give it a go and see what happens. I just yeah, I'm definitely no pro at bead rolling.
So you can actually see how much the panel moves when the bead roller goes over it. Because it's trying to squish shapes into it, it is pulling metal from one side to the other, and it ends up warping the panel quite a bit. And that is one of the things that you need to fight when you're using a bead roller. So I start trying with one of my new additions, which is a plunging hammer, trying to sort of planish out the shape again and get it flatter, with not much success.
All right, so that really didn't work. A big thank you to the patrons. Because of you guys, another tool I've got from the shop is a planishing hammer. Now, this basically just hammers very quickly with an air hammer. In the end, it's foot operated, and you've got a range of different dies that you can change out and put into the head. And it can basically sort of stretch out metal in certain places. Now, I tried to fix this panel, and it's really just not working. It's not looking good. I'm not happy with it. I'm going to call this a loss. All right, well, that was all a learning curve. So using the plunging hammer, in the end, I ended up using the shrinker stretcher, and I got this panel nice and flat. So I saved the one that I dodged just by using the foot shrinker. That is a fantastic piece of gear, and I managed to sort of get the waves out of it and get it nice and solid. So I could save the piece that I already made, and now I need to start measuring up and cutting it out to fit into the spot where it goes.
So now I'm more accurately lining up my panel and marking it out so I can trim it perfectly to shape. And then I need to start marking out where my folds are going to be, and then go away and fold it in the brake. And then also drill the hole for the body mount, which lines up with the foot. Now I spend a lot of time just making sure that the panels are perfectly aligned before I tack. I'd say this every time, but it really is worth spending the time as you go. It makes life so much easier afterwards.
All right, so I've tacked in this panel now. It all sort of lines up with the panels that were there. I'm going to go around now. I'll and TIG weld it all in together, and then we can start looking at fitting in the rest of the panels and tying this all back in together. It's a lot of work.
Quick coat of weld through primer under everything that's going to be covered up, just to make sure that it has a little bit of protection and it's not going to start rusting from the inside out. And here I worked out that I messed up and actually put the fold in the wrong spot. So I bent it back flat, planished it out, and then hand folded it in the correct location. Make sure everything is nice and level, all the tack's ground back, before I go through and final TIG weld it.
All right, so I have both panels in now, and the floor is looking good. Now I've got a bunch of panels that I still need to reassemble in this corner here. And the next thing I'm going to tackle is replacing this sill panel coming back up this way.
This is 1.6mm plate, so it's much heavier and I can't cut it in the guillotine, so it has to be cut by hand. It's also quite heavy to try and fold on this really sad little brake.
All right, I started folding up this piece. Now it's much thicker. This is 1.5 mil steel plate, or 1.6. This 1.6 is a bit thicker than the sills, but I just want some good solid material there. The issue I'm having, which may be hard to see on camera, but if we look down the length of it, basically this piece here tapers and narrows and it curves in. Now, it might be hard to see on camera, but this sort of strip here actually is tapering, and it narrows in. So by making this square, it's not actually lining up nicely, and it's not quite right. Whereas this front edge is flat. So this is all flat, but this bottom edge sort of tapers around. I'm just going to cut this through here and then make it in multiple pieces to get it to sort of make the shape that I want. All right, so by doing this piece in two pieces, it follows the curve of the panel properly, and the whole thing sort of it is the correct shape of what it needs to be. So the next step is I'm going to actually weld all these panels together, because at the moment they're all separate. I'm going to brace them all up, clamp them all to the foot, and this being the foot, and make them all as one again.
So I had a piece of all thread, it was about the right size, so I used that to bolt everything together through the foot, so I can now weld it all nice and tight.
The next thing I really need to remake is this lower panel here. So this is the front of the door jamb, and it's got the mount for the lower hinge, and I have to make that lower hinge mount and the piece at the bottom. I can probably do it similarly to the way I did the ones at the back, but this is going to be a little bit more difficult because I've got this hinge bucket in it.
So I went back through my stash and found these old floorboards and started cutting them out into shape to make my wooden bucks. Those of you who watched the previous episode will have seen I did a similar thing for the rear side of the door jambs a couple of weeks ago. Trim myself out roughly to shape, giving myself a bit of excess around the edge, and then screw and clamp it all together, and then in the vise it just seems to work a bit better, and very slowly go through and hammer form around the edge. It's not a matter of trying to bend it in one bit, it's a matter of trying to shrink it around the corners, and that is what planishing it slowly using this hammer form does.
All right, so I'm really a big fan of this hammer forming. It works really well. So it's shrunk this edge nicely. So instead of having all these ripples, like it's not perfectly smooth, but actually this face is the only bit you see. It's actually welded all the way around the edge. This is just reinforcing for that piece. And that is now the shape I need. Again, it made a little bit of a schmuckle on the end, but that also is no great issue because it is welded in there. So yeah, I'm happy enough with what I've got here. So now we need to go over and just check that it's going to be roughly what we need on the truck. So this piece fits exactly where I want it to. It's just right. I really like this hammer forming, but it's only part of the way there because I still need to put the hinge bucket into this. I need to be able to recess it and all that sort of stuff. But you'll have to wait till next week to see how I do that because I have no more time. So I think that means it's time for Fun Facts with Mrs. Jeff.
Hey guys, In 1902, after Henry Ford left his second failed car company, he began building a pair of race cars. He had gained notoriety the previous year, winning his first and only race, and he knew that the publicity from racing was invaluable, so he wanted to repeat this. Henry collaborated with bicycle racer Tom Cooper to build 2 race cars, one red and one yellow. They were both powered with an enormous 18.9 litre inline 4-cylinder engine. They had flywheels weighing around 100 kilos and made between 70 and 100 horsepower, which at the time was unheard of. Additionally, they had no rear suspension and no differential. So Ford was set to have a rematch against Alexander Winton, who he had beaten the previous year, but ended up selling his stakes in the cars to Barry Oldfield in order to set up the Ford Motor Company. Cooper and Oldfield named the red car 999 after the Empire State Express number 999, which had set the world land record at 112.5 miles per hour in 1893. The 999 went on to race Winton in October of 1902, and despite the strong challenge, the 999 went on to win the 5-mile race easily.
All right, well, I didn't get as much done as I wanted to on the Frankenholler this week, but it's just really, really time-consuming. I spent a lot of time just, didn't get a corner at least finished. Hopefully next week I can easily get that wrapped up.
This is often the way.
I haven't forgotten about the Alfarari. Again, I'm still sorting things out. I had issues with when I changed the steering rack. I actually had the steering knuckle or the yoke that I had was not right. The steering was actually slipping when I went to full lock, and so I've had to order another one. It was incorrect. I've ordered another one again. There's all things going on in the background. It is going to get there. Just the stuff I have to order. It's getting to these slow, fiddly stages. So
okay,
anyway,
some cool things.
We have had a bunch of mail this week. And a big thank you to a bunch of you. First one was Kelly Stewart from Beaufort, South Carolina.
We actually went through there on our holiday.
Yes.
Beaufort, I think it's pronounced Beaufort. Yeah.
Beaufort.
It was a really pretty spot. Awesome.
And it's a 1954 South Carolina truck tag. So this is actually a really, really cool old South Carolina plate. How good is that? And it's from 1954. Like that is...
Yeah, it's great.
That is perfect. So thank you very much, Kelly and Karen Stewart from South Carolina.
And while you're getting that ready, thank you to Luca from KL Auto Socks to keep Jeff's tootsies nice and cozy in these cold months here.
You can wear some too, but he's got these car-themed socks. So it's sort of brake and clutch foot with pictures of pedals on them. And
car enthusiast first, automotive detailer second.
Yeah, and it's got so a bunch of different ranges of automotive socks. So thank you, Luca. And the last one was from Joaquin Riviera.
Joaquin.
And he sent me, hello, Mr. and Mrs. Jeff, and he sent me a range of plates, actually. Well, one from Panama. Now, this one, I believe, is from, flip that over again. Where's the front of it? There we go.
Panama Centennial Plate, Baja, California, Mexico, Free Trade Zone Plate.
Okay. And
California Blue Plate, White Plate.
Old school California Blue Plate, and then the current California Plate.
And these are going to go over the paint booth. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, guys. So greatly appreciated it. Just a really cool edition showing sort of stuff from you guys all over the world. I really enjoy being able to sort of dress this up with something from you guys around the place.
Yeah.
And we'll be back into the Frankenholler next week.
Yeah. And in case some of you are missing Harry, I wore orange for you.
Yes, very brightly clad Mrs. Jeff today. Well, I'm still filthy from grinding on the Frankenholler.
Like, subscribe, and help us out on Patreon. That really helps out Jeff. See the videos early and no ads. And comment, like.
Yes. I have
subscribe.
the Rockster outside loaded on the trailer going to the track first thing tomorrow morning. So hopefully a track day video coming soon as well. Another extra midweek bonus.
Yeah.
All right, guys. See ya.
So, guys, Ford left his second failed car company. Damn it, I practiced it so many times. He began building a pair of race cars. Let me do it again. That was weird.
Yeah. Yes.
Done.
I don't think there's going to be many bloopers today.
Because I got to read it beforehand. Yes, I did.